struggles. Maybe talk me through if there's any maybe big moments that come to mind during the course of the business, and then on the opposite, maybe some of the big struggles that came along the way as well.
Well, I say buying Mugwump was a big win. At the time was shortly after, in 2011, the world came to a new realization and our industry really took a hit, and the event industry changed dramatically then, and Mugwumps had to change. And what they did is when they contracted to deal with the loss of business that everybody was experiencing, they weren't able to grow back up. It takes a lot of motivation, and just like after COVID, to go back into your business and then repeat everything you've done and start over from scratch. And so Craig, the owner, Craig Van Zant, he was just tired. He's an artist and a painter and a sculptor, and I don't think he had the drive at that point in his life to really reinvent it. So he and I talked, and we talked off and on for several weeks, maybe even months about it, and he was shopping it with a couple other companies, and nothing was coming together for him. And I was almost embarrassed to call him back because I really couldn't offer him a lot for the business because it just wasn't there, and people weren't doing the large statues and the props and all that stuff. But he and I went back and forth, and he had an offer from somebody else, and ultimately my partner and I at that time had talked, and he had given me a number he was comfortable with. And since I was a minority shareholder by 1 percentage point, we had to kind of go with the owner's thoughts. So we went down that road, and I sold him. I convinced him to take our offer, that we'd be a better customer because we'd buy the business, we'd keep the brand, we'd carry on where he left, and I would rent his space from him. So although he didn't get a lot of money in the sale, he'd get at least 4 years worth of rent on his building from us. And so what he didn't get in the sale, he'd pick up and rent. So we went down that road, and we're all done. We're signed, sealed, deliver. Well, I love Kurt, my old partner, but Kurt was risk avert. And at that time, he was ultra risk avert because he'd already moved to Champaign. So I get everything lined up, and I'm thinking, okay, done deal. Just called him up, told him, guess what? We just bought an event company. Long pause on the phone. Excuse me? Said, yeah, Kurt, you said if I could get it for this price, we could buy it. Oh, no. You must have misunderstood me. Now I'm thinking, oh, my God.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
now I'm really in a rough spot. So we have some more conversations, and I tell him, I'll give you the numbers. And so on Sundays, this is on a Friday afternoon. So Sunday we have scheduled an appointment to go over the numbers, and it's going to take one more shot at getting them on board. In the meantime, my wife and I sat and talked, and I said, look, if Kurt balks on this thing, we'll buy it. I said, I'll buy it. I'll run it as a side business until we buy the rest of Kurt's inventory, and then we'll merge the two companies, and we'll just, play that game as long as we can. So I prepared because it was a great opportunity, and I really believed it was, and it was the right thing for our company to do. So I get Kurt on the phone, and I had sent him, a 5-year plan for return on the investment and the growth cycle, and I took conservative expectations based them on just some information that I had gotten out of the industry and so forth. And as Kurt and I went round and round on the thing, he finally agrees to it. So we do it, and it really wasn't a lot of cash going in because we were basically buying the business and paying him over a period of time, as well as the rent and everything. So it wasn't a huge outlay of money to start with. So we do. We secure the deal. We buy the business. We buy the inventory. And from that day until right before COVID, we've had double-digit growth at Mugwump year over year.
Wow.
Sometimes as high as 35%.
Wow.
So, I can look at that, a business that I bought for a small amount of money, and, last year payroll was probably 3 times what I paid for the business.
Yeah. Did you run that past your Vestige boys?
I did. I ran the whole deal by them, and they all thought it was a good deal.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about it, and at the time it was very emotional. It was a lot of struggle. I think another big deal for me was buying the business. As a kid, we all dream when we're a kid. I never dreamed of going to school. I never dreamed of anything. I dreamed of owning a business.
Yep.
I mean, I still remember to this day cutting the grass, and I'm sitting there pushing it now. My idea of the business was a small, maybe an office supply store in a strip mall, maybe 2,000 square foot business, not a business like this and a 43,000 square foot warehouse, you know, different perspective. But, you know, it was a dream, and the dream was always to own it. So to me, to initially close on the sweat equity deal and then to close on the final deal, it was really funny. I had a job in Vegas that day. It was a company called Medtronics. We had a week-long sales conference for them. And I still remember being in the lawyer's offices for an entire day. So my wife and I and Kurt and his wife, and we're going through the documents. And even though all the documents had been designed and read several times beforehand, it still had snags along the way, and it was very emotional. And, you know, I bought it, and then I jumped on a plane, flew to Vegas, and I'm laying there. It wasn't until I'm laying in bed at midnight in Vegas, was probably 3 o'clock in the morning here in Jacksonville. I'm looking up the ceiling, and I go, what in God's green earth did I just do? 'Cause that's a big number, you know.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
And you're paying on it for 10 years,
Yeah.
and you're saying that check out every single month for the next 10 years, and you're thinking, oh, that's bigger than my mortgage.
Yep.
That's a big check.
Yeah.
And so that was a big win for me. Again, it was another thing. And then this past year during COVID, we were so fortunate enough to be able to pay that final payment and actually pay it all off. And so we feel really good about the fact that we were able to come full circle and own it. And it's just an achievement, you know, in your career that you look at. And, you know, I'm not sure if you're a believer or not, but, you know, it's by God's grace. I look at it and I go, you know what? God was great. He honored that promise. And 10 years later, we paid it off. And, you know, we were never hurting. We had tough times.
Sure.
But even through COVID, we were able to do it. Now, and my big thing, the big negative would have been either after 9/11, which for us, we had to really redesign the company. Again, after that, because what happened is with no airline travel, the hotels weren't so the business industry just shut down. Events stopped.
Right.
And that's our industry. And so, again, what are we going to do? So at that time, I took an attitude I wasn't going to lay anybody off. And so we laid nobody off. We had them painting the building. We had them washing the gear. We had them, and we were able to sustain it because it was about a 90-day. So we spent a lot of savings, and we were able to keep everybody together for 90 days. And then we started seeing the business pick back up, and we did it. Probably the worst day would be COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we're an event company, and you know, people aren't doing events. In fact, they're still not doing events up north. And, you know, I'm a very personable person. I want to, you know, Zoom meetings to me are just, you know, death by 1,000 sticks. I know it's important. I trust me. I live on them. I do them. But I'm interaction. I would rather look you in the face and not look at your screen. And because then you have the thing, well, when they don't have video showing, is it because they're not paying attention?
God, it's the worst.
And you don't know what's going on. And you're not looking at your customer in the face. You're not able to close them. You're not able to see how this experience is going. And, you know, sometimes it's even with an employee. They got a problem. Imagine discussing a problem with somebody over a Zoom call. You know, it's hard to interact with them. And so for me, being a person that likes relationships and likes to interact, those were some of the toughest times. And